Hey Ryan, welcome to the Profit and Grit Show. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm proud to say you are the first person I've had the second time. This is
Oh,
such an honor.
happy to be back. Honored to be back. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I only had to beg so much too to get you back here a second time. Just kidding. Hey, you know
I'm
where I
pretty
wanted to
easy, right? I'm a pretty easy guy.
You're very easy. You're actually, you know what? I think I've texted you probably about 5 times when I've had a product question or something trying to understand how my client could do something better. I don't think you realize how good you make me look sometimes because one time I literally was sitting with a client and he's like, "Hey, I want to try to accomplish this." And I'm like, Ryan might know how to do that. So I texted you. You literally had responded. I think before I finished like 2 or 3 sentences talking with the client. Like I'm like, oh, he already responded. The client's like, oh man, you must really know a lot of people. And it was just a lot. I mean, it was kind of you to respond so quick. So
Oh,
anyway, thanks for always being so
we're all
present.
just a bunch of guys that's out here trying to make it happen, man. We all just got to support each other, you know?
So true, so true. Okay, hey, you know where I'd love to start? For those folks that don't know of you, let's just start a little bit about what Chirp is, what you do, the problem you guys are trying to solve, and then I've got some things I'd like to dig in deeper as it relates to that.
Sure. So, kind of high level, Chirp is a tool that I developed in response to just my own needs. I'm a sales guy. I love selling. I love the process of taking somebody from not knowing who you are to shut up and take my money. It's where I live, right? That's the part of the world I live in. And follow up is one of the hardest things to maintain as a salesperson. Naturally, because sales guys just love being in the action. We love being in the close. We love getting that dopamine hit from a yes, you know? Follow up just isn't very exciting. But objectively, follow up is where the fortune really actually lies and where we can make our most money. And so I set out to solve that problem, to take follow up off the sales guy's plate so that he feels like he can focus on the things he loves doing, which is closing deals, and then allowing the robots to do the follow up, make sure that they are getting as many opportunities as possible. And so our system is designed to help companies automate their follow up throughout the customer journey at all the various places where a customer can leak out. And we try to catch those and continue that nurturing process to get them back so we can close more deals. So ultimately, that's what Chirp is. It's not a follow up product. It's a follow up system. And then I developed that because I'm a sales guy and I needed that in my business. And as I developed it, I realized that it was, a very powerful thing and set out to solve the world's problems with it. So here I am.
And you guys still are mostly focused in the home services area. Do you see that ever changing, where your umbrella gets bigger than just generally home sales? Home
Yeah,
services, excuse me.
we definitely are in the, always on the hunt for the next, it's kind of one of those things they say, like with verticals, you nail it and then you scale it, right? And then the best thing you can do is nail like a niche, really nail one specific segment of the market. I struggled with that initially. We were kind of all over the place. We were selling it to anybody and everybody. Real estate agents were buying it. Even we even had like food trucks were buying it and using it to sell, to send out messages when they were going to be in a certain place, and barber shops and dentists. And the problem we had was a non-cohesive messaging, right? Our messaging was too broad. And so what ends up happening is you get a guy on the phone going, "Well, okay, I'm a real estate agent. What can I do to be better?" And I go, "Well, this dentist over here, he's doing pretty good." He goes, I don't care what the dentist is doing. I want to know what the other real estate agents are doing, right? And so it wasn't until some home service guys came along and we started to figure out integrations into Service Titan, House Call Pro, these various things. And we started to see that there was a really big need in that space for this particular process. And we nailed it, I think. We've done very well in that space. We have the biggest operators in the country using it. And then now the goal is to, you know, we want to go kind of market adjacent, right? Where we're not necessarily just going, all right, now let's sell to, restaurants. Like let's figure out something that's very similar. And we have some direction there, but right now 95% of our business is home service.
Yeah, yeah. And you're well known in this community. I mean, your name is the one that comes up consistently. And on that note, before I kind of get into some of my other questions, I would like to, last thing about Chirp specifically is how do you guys feel you differentiate yourselves from whether it be a package that's built into a CRM or there's some other competitors out there. What do you guys, one, how do you think you differentiate yourself and how conscious are you in terms of trying to keep that differentiation going as the world seems to be getting more AI and things seem to be getting easier to develop and faster. How do you maintain that?
Yeah, so that's it's one of the challenges any business faces is like how do you you're different, deep down you're different, but how do you actually get that message out to the people, right? And how do you show that you're actually different? Because on the surface, you might look at something and go, "Oh, you do text messaging? My system does text messaging already, so I don't need you," right? And at the end of the day, we are we are focused 100% on one specific thing. We are looking to help you follow up better with your leads. Now, what does that mean? You look at somebody like a CRM that has texting in their system and they say, "Well, we have that here." Okay, cool. Is that their core product? Do they focus, 24/7 on that thing? Because if the fortune is in the follow-up, it's a pretty important thing.
Right.
And if they're really good at doing field service management or whatever their CRM does, that's what they're good at, and that's what they're going to focus their energy on. And then these ancillary products that are kind of just like, oh, like these ideas on the side that don't have 100% of their attention are never going to be as good as somebody like me who's going, this is all I do all the time, every day. I'm focused on learning what works, what doesn't work, how to trigger the right things at the right time, how to make sure text messages are getting delivered, how to make sure they're getting delivered at the right times. It's a very nuanced, very complex system. And we have some of the biggest companies in the world competing with us, and they can't do what we can do because they're not in the trenches with us. Right? We have a guy. I mean, we just have one just recently. It's like another very big company who has a built-on thing. Super pissed because text messages are going out in the middle of the night, and it's like, whoa, that's a pretty big deal to have your text messages go out at midnight, right? And the way we differentiate is one, we focus on making it the best product for just this thing, just this one specific thing. We're not trying to be everything for everybody. And then two, being a more of a strategy partner than a software. So we're not coming to you saying, here's some software, good luck. We've got the playbooks, we've got the strategies all lined up. You're going to work with us as if we're an agency. Like you have your marketing agency, we're your conversion agency, where we're going to come in and make sure that you are closing deals at a higher rate. And so those are kind of the two main differentiators. It's tough to, it's again, people can easily go, well, this guy does texting and we don't, and they do over there. So it's like, but if you take follow up as seriously as you should, and you want to see massively increased conversion rates, you know, you want to work with somebody that's obsesses about it.
Yeah, yeah. How do you feel about just this world? Like, we have a lot of these AI agents that are answering the phone now, or automated AI answering the phone. And some of these companies I'm seeing are now getting into like text messaging and video messaging. Is it kind of in your mind the same thing? It's like just doing a lot of different things that you're
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
doing yeah, it's doing a lot of different things. It's also not having 15 years of experience behind because the technology is one thing and the experience is another, right? It's like I can hand anybody my dad built houses growing up. Okay, there's a good whoa, my Zoom's just I think it does it when you do this. Let's see.
I have no idea.
Yeah, check that out.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
So I'll use this example. I grew up building houses with my dad, right? And he taught me how to use a skill saw at a young age, like 12 or something. I was out there cutting 2x4s for him. And so I always knew how to use a skill saw. And I was helping a friend with his Eagle project. He's a scout. I was helping him with the Eagle project, and I had the skill saw. I was 17 years old. I'm at his thing helping him. And he goes, "Hey, let me try that." And I go, "No, no, it's dangerous." He goes, "No, I can do it." And he grabs the saw because I made it look easy, right? And he grabs the saw, hits the wood, and then bends the blade enough to make it kick back on him, right? And obviously, well, He didn't cut himself. He didn't get hurt, but it scared the crap out of him.
Sure.
And he goes, okay, 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 okay. You finished doing it, right? And so that's the same. We're in the same situation. I can hand that skill saw to somebody. If they don't have the experience, they can get really hurt. AI and text messages and voice, that's a very big part of your business. There's a lot of let's not even talk about the legal stuff behind this kind of thing, but the damage that these things can cause if done incorrectly. Let's say, for example, let's go back to the one text message in the middle of the night. You don't want this stuff left in the hands of people who aren't taking this as seriously as we are. And so yeah, it's one of those things. There's a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of softwares out there. Those are tools. You want to work with somebody who has the tool and can pick up the skill saw and cut the wood without it kicking back and cutting your leg off, right? That's really what there's a point where we're all coming to where tools are becoming more and more irrelevant because you can build tools
Right.
more quickly with software now with AI. But again, it still all comes back to the experience and whether or not you can take that tool and actually cut the 2x4. So.
Yeah. I feel like for whatever reason, the term conversion, it's a nice buzzword and we use it a lot, and I'm speaking from working with quite a few home service clients, particularly HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. It gets glossed over though. Like even though we use that term a lot, people don't really like hang on, man, if I can improve my conversion by 5%, 2%, 1%, this would mean this much dollars and nothing has changed. No additional cost, no additional in terms of acquiring the leads, nothing. I think it gets glossed over. Do you see that when you're taking on a new client where that wasn't front and center of ad spend?
It's such a frustrating thing to see because conversion is to me everything, right? It's like who cares how much you spent to get a lead? How much did it cost you to convert a lead? That's the only number that matters.
Right.
It's like oh, I got leads for $5. Okay. Cool. Did you convert any of them? No, I only converted one in 100. Okay, that's $500 for a conversion. $5 lead means nothing if you're going to paying $500 for conversion, right? So conversion to me is everything. And this is where we really get into the experience part of things. Because if we talk about, you could say, oh, I did follow up with him. I sent him a text message. I did what I heard was what other people should do, what you're supposed to do. A text message being sent is a piece of code being sent. And objectively, you did the thing, you sent the text message, but what was the words that you used in that text message? That's the unseen thing that people don't realize is super, super powerful both ways. You can send a single word that is demolishing all of your conversions. That's completely destroying every chance you had. And you're scratching your head going, I'm following up with my leads. I don't know what's going on. And I'll tell you a story about that because I learned this early on, the power of words and the combination of words. This story I'm going to tell, the purpose of this story is to illustrate the power of words, not necessarily the actual lesson in the words that I used. I'm going to use words and you'll see the difference, but the lesson is to show how powerful switching up your words can be. So if you watch my other podcast, if you know about me, I used to have a windshield repair business. I used to sell it door to door, and then I saw a girl doing it out of a gas station. And what she would do is she would go up and wash people's windshields, and then if they had a chip in their windshield, she would offer to fix them. It seemed like, oh, that's super easy. I could do that. So I go to this gas station near my house and I say, hey, I want to do this. And he says, yeah, go for it. And I go out, and in that first morning, I was not getting people. I was saying, I'd go up to him and I'd say, hi, welcome to Mike Chevron. I'd like to wash your windshield today, or can I wash your windshield today? 9 out of 10 people would say no, 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 no. And it was, because they felt obligated or whatever. And just like, nah, no thanks. I don't need that, whatever. I don't want to have to tip you, that kind of thing. And so I was like, dang, this isn't going to work. Because if I see 100 cars, 10 people are going to let me wash their windshield. I've got to build my business off of those 10 people, right? That's a lot of work. That's 100 cars that I got to talk to get 10 people just to be able to like pitch, just to be able to like offer my service to. And so I'd get like maybe one deal out of that, one or two if I'm lucky out of that. When I switched the words from can I wash your windshield to as a courtesy today, we're washing everybody's windshields. That's all it was. On the surface, it seems like the same thing. We're saying the same thing.
Right.
But that tiny shift in that combination of words went from 10 opportunities to wash the windshield to 90. So 9 out of 10 would let me wash their windshield. And so now I have 90 opportunities versus 10. Now think of that in terms of 100 leads in your business. If you send out 100 text messages and you have something in the words there that are only getting 10 people to respond, you're missing out on 90. And so this can mean all the difference in business. This is literally everything. This comes down to like, because you can look on the surface. I don't know if you've been in sales. We go door to door. I used to go door to door when I was even before that doing pest control sales. You'd have two guys side by side, and you'd be like, these guys are exactly the same. They're doing the exact same thing. And one guy would come home with 10 sales, one guy would come home with two. And there was like on the surface, if you didn't know the nuances between the tiny little differences in the words they're saying, you'd think they were doing the exact same thing. But there were tiny little differences that took one guy to 10 sales and one guy to two.
Oh, yeah.
And so I try to really emphasize with people. I say, like, there's so many people that like kind of just like you said, just kind of gloss over follow up. They kind of just go, yeah, I followed up. It's like, did you follow up 18 times? Did you follow up with multi-channel, text message, email, voicemail, different, and then online through Facebook, social media? Did you follow up with the right words? Did you follow up with the right cadence? And it's like, oh, okay, this is quite a bit. I see one, I won't mention the name of this field service management, but they came out with a feature called Second Chance Leads. And it's like, we'll follow up with your leads. It's like, we're going to give it one more shot. It just makes it seem like such a small, like,
Right.
unimportant thing. And it's like, whoa, this is everything. And you're making it seem like this little, like, oh, you get one more shot. It's like, no, there's so much to this.
It's like a Hail Mary. We'll do
Yeah,
our
Hail
Hail
Mary.
Mary,
That's
and
like,
maybe
no.
we'll get one occasionally.
Maybe we'll get one every now and then. I'm talking about going 14 days of aggressive follow-up followed by 3 months of moderate follow-up all the way up to 6 to 12 months out. We get deals where a text message will go out 6 months later. Just wanted to check back in. A few months ago you asked about, whatever XYZ service. We want to make sure you were taken care of. Oh, you know what? I've been meaning to do that. Let's go ahead and get that scheduled. And it's like that deal, in no world where you would get that deal manually, right? That's gone. But that automated text that just drops 6 months later could mean a new deal that you already paid for that lead 6 months ago.
Right.
So
Do you have any examples where we could take it into the home services world that are the type of texts or words that, I don't know if I'd call them deal killers, but they're not. They're kind of using your example of just by adding the courtesy, your conversion way up. Is there anything like that in the home service world that you've seen examples of that you'd go, these are kind of deal killer things that are said a lot of times?
I won't give specifics. I'll kind of give like
Okay.
kind of principles.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
When people think of text message marketing, they think of Papa John's, get 10% off your order, respond here to, accept the coupon, right? And it's like a very non-personal marketing text. It's an ad. It's an ad inside the text messaging world, right? Which kills the whole purpose of texting, because texting is meant to be personal. And so if you're sending messages that look like marketing messages, you're killing the whole vibe of what we're trying to accomplish. If I'm an owner of an HVAC company and I go, I need to fill up my shoulder season, I'm not going to send out a text message that says, hey, Tyler, good news. We have 50 slots available for a $49 tune-up. Click here now to get on the schedule. It's a sales pitch, right? But if I say, hey, Tyler, it's Ryan with such and such HVAC. Just wanted to say thanks for being a customer. Wanted to let you know in the next couple of days, we're going to be out in your area. If you want to get your furnace tuned up, let me know. I'd love to take care of you. Notice how I shifted slightly from marketer to friend, just having a conversation. And that's the key. If you can make the person feel like, oh, this is just a friend communicating with me like my other friends do on when I text. That's the principle I would try to really drive home. It's the same, when you think of social media. There's ads on social media, and then there's social media posts. We're not there to see the ads. We're there to see the posts, right? We're there. We go on Facebook to see our friends' posts, right? Stupid cat videos, whatever we want to see, right? The ads that are the most effective mimic social media posts. No, they aren't the bright and flashy, like $49 tune-up, click here. I'm not there. I'm not on Facebook looking for a $49 tune-up. I'm there to enjoy myself and to get entertainment from social media. And so the same principle applies in text messaging. We're not there. People aren't in their texts to get advertised to. They're in there to have conversations and to connect with people. And so if you can connect with them on a human level, you have a much higher chance of converting.
Ryan, how far away are we, or is this even not a good idea, where we can go back into the CRM and see that maybe the last time we serviced XYZ, I don't know, we could talk about their cat, we could talk about the last service we did, some type of personalized context to that text message that says, "Hey Ryan, we talked with you back in June. We had something that personalizes what we did then, and then say, hey, it's time for that tune up again. We're going to happen to be in your neighborhood." Is that a good idea? And are we close to being able to do that?
Yeah, it is. We have a lot of like already set triggers that allow you to do that. This was kind of
Okay.
post or pre AI. Now we're
Okay.
getting more into where the AI is actually getting more context. We're reading more. We're able to look at the past conversation. Like for example, a follow-up message. Before, you could create a static text message drip campaign, right? It's like
Right.
day one follow up, day three follow up, day five follow up. We have AI able to look at the context of the conversation and then build a follow up sequence based on that conversation.
Wow.
So, for example, if they say, I need to talk to my wife, now the follow up message is going to go, hey, did you have a chance to talk to your wife? A very specific, response rather than just, hey, following up with you, right? And so we're able to use AI to look into the context of the conversation and be more laser targeted with our messaging.
Yeah, because I think that brings it to like a whole nother world, especially if it builds off it itself in terms of how you're communicating, in terms of personalizing and stuff.
The goal is always to figure out how a really good salesman would do it if they had the
Yeah.
time to do it and then do it that way, right? And one of the ways we're doing that is we've been doing text messaging I've been doing it for 15 years or something like that. Chirp's been around. We started Chirp officially like 8 years ago. We have hundreds of millions of text messages in our database. I didn't know what I was ever going to do with that data. It was like, how am I going to read through 8 years of text messages, hundreds of millions of text messages and actually get meaningful information from that? And then AI came along and we've been having AI reading these text messages and coming back and saying, did you know that Monday morning, 7 to 9 a.m. is the most effective time to send an estimate follow-up? That's stuff I never would have been able to find, right? And so it's finding best times a day to send messages, words that work, words that don't, and it's coming up with insights that we never could have gotten without that. So now we're taking that data, and that's another thing where people go, oh, they do text messaging. Well, do they have, 8 years and hundreds of millions of text messages that can help you craft messages more professionally? We're creating the moats as we go, and we think we have some really powerful stuff. It's proving to be really cool to see people convert higher. We get companies coming back going, whoa, I switched to blue messages and I'm getting higher conversion rates, which is crazy. Like we have the ability to send blue messages versus green messages. And that's another stupid little thing that you wouldn't think is a difference. And it makes a huge difference, like 50% higher conversation rate with blue messages versus green. So
Yeah.
cool stuff like that.
And to your point, like when you talk about how you guys specialize in conversion, being able to do that blue message thing isn't like a small deal. Like you guys actually, I believe, have a warehouse with phones dedicated to each client that's allowing that to happen. Is that correct?
I don't want to misrepresent because we're partnered with a company that does
Okay.
that very thing, but that's what it is. I don't.
Okay.
We've partnered with a company that literally gets you a hardware, which is an iPhone, and they have a whole farm of them, like set up in a warehouse where you've got these phones set up, and they are connected to iMessage. None of it is illegal or non-compliant or anything. It's all within the terms of everything. There are certain ways and rules we have to follow to make this compliant, but it's really effective. A new lead can come in, we can text them with the blue iMessage, and we can send the little congratulation, like when the balloons pop up. We can send clearer videos through iMessage, and people there's just a higher trust factor to blue messaging. So yeah, it's like a big deal. It's like we're automating a cell phone for your business.
Yeah. Going back to this database of 8 years of text history, is there anything that stands out in terms of the patterns or things that you saw that kind of caught you off guard, or like, hey, I didn't realize this until I had AI to compile 8 years of data, and this kind of caught me off guard a little bit. Does anything stand out like that?
Definitely like that timing that I just said was one of the biggest ones where like, whoa,
Okay.
or 7 to 9 in the morning on Monday morning. I never like who would have thought, but you think, and
Yeah.
then you kind of think about it and you go, that doesn't make sense. It's like people are kind of in like go mode, like let's get things done at that point. And it's like, oh, I need to get that. And it's like, it just happens to be good. Another one was more confirming of the conversational style messaging. It's coming back going, this is conversational style messaging. Very important. Another one that is really powerful is slight humor. We're not talking, you have to be super funny, but like basic chuckle type jokes, right? Like if you've heard the your wife is hot, fix her air conditioner, right? And it's like just enough to get a little chuckle, right? But you're not trying to knock it out of the park. But the whole point is just for them to look at their phone and go like, and then respond, right? And so basic humor can be really powerful.
Yeah. Very cool. Anything on conversely the other side where it's like there is enough of something that's being said that's absolute deal killers? I know we've talked about this a little bit, so it might be redundant, but anything caught you off guard that
Yeah, I don't have specific lines. I don't want to put anything out there because like
sure,
it's so delicate and it's all new data, but it's
sure.
definitely the same principle, which is the idea of sounding markety, sounding buzzwords, things that are, anything that like 50% off or anything like that is just it immediately triggers the brain to go into I'm being sold mind versus I'm talking to a friend. So
Yeah. I had a guy named Ryan Williams on my show a couple shows ago, and in the show, he said, hey, we found when we started using AI, particularly the attendance, but when we use AI, that our area is very kind of, I'm using these words, he didn't use these words, backwoods. People know each other and they're
Yep.
very chill and they weren't receptive to that. And he felt it really was hurting his business. Is there any patterns that you've noticed of like that, like different areas that
Yes.
it's, yeah,
Yes, for sure. So we're finding different responses regionally, different cadences. That's why we have AI voice in Chirp. We offer it. It's there, but I'm not like stoked about it. At my core, I'm almost anti-AI. It's like, I'm not trying to replace humans. I'm trying to enhance their capabilities. And so I'm not trying to just go, cool, I'm going to be able to eliminate everybody in my business because I've got AI. We're trying to strike a blend between human interaction and automation. And the problem I see with AI voice in general is works for some customers and people will close and it works, but it really pisses off other people. They feel like they've been lied to, right? And
right.
it's like, well, we have a high booking rate. Yeah, but I pissed off a lot of people. So this is kind of like trying to figure out where this balance is of like how far do we take it? One of the things that I really like and I think makes sense in AI voice is first exposing that you're AI. Like don't try to fool the customer. So if you start off by saying, "Hi Tyler, this is Ryan. I'm the AI agent with XYZ company. I'm here to answer your questions. If at any time you need to talk to a human, just let me know. When would you like to book your appointment?" And then now you're not starting off with a lie, right? Like trying to deceive them. You're at least letting them know that it's AI. And I think that that's kind of that right blend. And to speak to specifically what you were saying with these kind of these smaller towns, there are, and this is something people have to determine for themselves. There are groups of people, different areas have different political views, different, like all these different things. You have to be able to build your business around the way they prefer to communicate. And if they hate AI voice, like don't do it. The beauty of text messaging is that we can start conversations and it's much harder to detect, first of all, that it's AI.
Right.
And then we can easily take over those conversations and continue them. So let's say you have 100 leads, right? And you send out messages and then 20 of them respond. You can say, cool, I can manage 20 messages, myself. I'll take them over versus I've got to sit and text 100 people. So we use technology to get it out, but then we're going to continue the conversation organically or manually.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of find the balance in your area, what works. And it's worth trying because some people, you've heard it, you have some people going, I have a much higher booking rate with my AI voice than I did with my CSR.
Yeah.
Cool. But I can also show you a story where somebody goes, it was the worst nightmare of my life.
Right.
So you have to find what works and don't just buy into the hype. Anybody that's saying, "Oh, you're gonna be able to close down your whole, call center, all this," it's like, whoa, like pump the brakes. You know what's best in your business. Understand the tools. Work with somebody like me who can guide. Isn't gonna say, "Oh, you should just do this." It's like it should be a collaboration and a process to determine what works for you.
Yeah. When I was at Epic in Vegas a couple weeks ago, you were there too. Chad Peterman gave a discussion, and you just hit the nail on the head in exactly what he said. He said, "Meet your customer where they're at." So if they wanna talk to AI, let them talk to AI. If they want to talk to a human, let them talk to a human. If they want to submit a form online, let them submit a form online. He went on to share data. If they want to talk via text and they don't ever want to talk to you because they don't, they're not the phone type of person. I'm kind of that way. I hate phone calls. Like it just feels like it takes up a lot of my time. But
Yep.
if you text me, you'll get a response like that. If you email me, you'll get a response like that. So his whole point was meet them where they're at, and you'll see your conversions go way up.
100%. 100%.
Yeah,
And you start with what work, like you meet them where they're at, but you also present what statistically shows is the best way to
sure.
communicate. Right now, people text messaging is king. People don't want to get on phone calls. They have a high, especially these younger kids that are coming up that are buying houses, homeowners that, the generation below me, I'm 43. These like 30-year-olds and like these younger kids, that's like the highest anxiety group of people. They don't like getting on the phone. They have social anxiety, but they can text and they can text fast. And so you want to make sure you're offering every way for them to communicate with you, but texting definitely, and not to toot my own horn or like, self promotion, but we have 98 to 100% read rate. So it's like, what's better?
Yeah, that's huge. Okay, so next thing I wanted to talk about, because I feel like this topic really can be representative for any home service business owner, actually any business owner. But I want to talk about your relationship with Tommy Mello and him becoming an investor. Talk about that a little bit. What precipitated that? How did that lead up to that? I mean, Tommy Mello is obviously an icon in our industry, extremely successful. The house that he's building is like insane, which I can't go without mentioning that. But just talk about that a little bit. Like what I think adding a player like him or someone that's at a different level, probably than where you a level maybe you want to get to, but you're not at yet, probably adds a lot to you guys. So could you share some of that?
First of all, he's all right. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Just kidding. Tommy's great. So the relationship between me and Tommy's really organic. I reached out to him. It's funny because he had messaged me on Facebook months earlier, and I actually missed the message. And so when I went in to message him, I saw a message from him, and I was like, I missed a message from Tommy. And so it's probably like I'm too cool for Tommy.
Right.
So I messaged him. I said, hey, let's talk about text messaging. We had a conversation. He goes, hey, why don't you come to Vertical Track? This was back when he was doing Vertical Track. And let's talk. So I actually sponsored. It was the biggest sponsorship I had done to date. Like this was 3 or 4 years ago, and it was like $10,000 or something to speak there. And it was like the big at the time was like
Yeah.
a big risk. I spoke. He was in the audience, and I love speaking. I feel like I'm not bragging, but that is my favorite thing to do. I'm good at it. And so he came up to me after. And he said, "Hey, that was really great. Let's connect. I want to see if there's more ways we work together." And then he put me in touch with Jim Leslie. Basically, Jim at the time was Tommy's like no guy. It's like Tommy's the guy that likes to say yes, but then he goes, "Talk to Jim, and if Jim says yes, then we definitely have something, right?" And so you get on a call with Jim, and he's like this, like. He's got his arms folded and he's very skeptical, like you're not. And I said, yeah, so this is one of the most effective ways we use text messaging here. And I was telling him about it, and he leans in and he goes, you can't do that. And I was like, yeah, we can do that. And he goes, I've been trying to do that for like 2 years. We haven't been able to figure out how to make that work. And I was like, we can do it. And he's like, I will buy you a steak dinner if you can do that. And I showed him and it worked. And he's like, oh my gosh. So then he's like, there's a good example of somebody we're focused on this. We know how to make things work, trigger at the right times, right? So then he's like, okay, cool. So he tells Tommy, hey, these guys know what they're doing. We need to get involved. So we got A1 going on text messaging. We started seeing good results. And then he said, we were at Service Nation, and we had been getting the good results for him. We were at about, if you know Justin, Judd, we brought the business to about $300,000 a month in recurring revenue. So we did that. I took it to 100,000 by myself, brought Justin on, took it to 300,000. And so we were on a good clip. It's not like we went and begged for anything, but we're at the Service Nation, and Tommy goes, hey, come to my house tonight. I had a flight in an hour, and I'm like, well, I'm missing that flight.
Yeah.
So I go to Tommy's house, and we had a great time hanging out. And then he just goes, hey, I think you guys, I love what you're doing, but I also, and this is, I think, really important for people to understand. I get a lot of people that ask, like, how do you network at such a high level? How do you get these people to, like, I sit at the table with a lot of people, and it comes down to those kind of guys can sense BS long before you walk through the door. These guys are so hyper aware of, crappy people. I've been in Tommy's house. I've since then been to his house pretty much every month. We hang out all the time, and we work on a lot of stuff together. But I've seen people come into his house and immediately they're like, well, yeah, we don't like this guy. There's a vibe, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's just really important that if you are going to try to work with high level people, if you're going to try to network with high level people, that you have your emotional game on track. You need to be an ethical, honest person without ulterior motives, because they're going to sniff those out so quickly. And if you're a genuine person, if you're a nice person, you're a go-getter, they're going to pick up on that very quickly. Immediately he said, I want to buy into your business. He bought 25% of the business, and we've been cranking ever since. But yeah, I would say, just to kind of speak to that a little bit, it's like, you don't want to go in there with, anytime you're going to talk to somebody like that, you don't want to have some sort of underlying, issue that they're going to sniff out really quickly. So.
Yeah. That's huge. Was there any point where you pause in terms of taking an investor or a new, giving up a little bit of equity? 25% is a decent amount. It's not control, but it is a decent amount. Was there any point where you go, even if it's Tommy Mello, just you just pause a little bit and go, is this right for me? Or is that always been your plan?
It was not always the plan for sure. The that was one that was just so obvious that was like,
Okay.
hey, I know he's gonna bring far more value than what he's taking. We didn't give it to him. He bought and he paid really well for that equity. So it wasn't that was the sign to me that he was serious because there have been people that come along and say, hey, I'll offer my influence for equity. And it's like, nah, Tommy was willing to offer his influence and also pay for the equity. And so, and I think that's the way it should be. If you're going to take equity from somebody, you should pay for what it's worth at that moment, and then you should put your skin in the game after that. But, and so we generally say no to anybody that, comes along and says, hey, I'll trade you equity for influence. And the good thing about that deal was it was organic in that he had been using the product and having success with it. I
Yeah.
really don't like the businesses that come in and go, hey, we'll pay you money if you'll talk about us. How is that? It just, yeah, it just doesn't, I don't want to say it's dishonest, but it's definitely not totally honest because it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
hey, this product's really good. Thanks for my paycheck. Appreciate it. So the good thing about that deal was that he was using it, he was having success, he saw that, and he fairly bought equity. And so I think we did it right. But yeah, equity to me is like, you guard it like you do your
Right.
life.
Right. Right.
And I've made mistakes for sure. And early on, you never know. Especially at the beginning, it's easy because something's worth nothing at the beginning. It's like
Right.
100% of zero is easy to split up, right?
Yeah.
And then you start to go down the road and you go, oh, holy crap. You got a good deal, man. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's something you should definitely be very considerate of. But there's times where it's obvious, like, yeah, heck yeah, let's go.
What's the takeaway for the folks out there in the audience? Like, I mean, obviously, Tommy Mello, huge name in our industry, a lot of success, really writing on the wall why you would do it. But I mean, what would you say to someone that's maybe a home service business owner that's maybe not a Tommy level guy, but someone that can bring that value? Like, what's that decision criteria in your mind? As much as we can cover in a podcast, obviously.
So I love skin in the game. That's
Yeah.
all I ever talk about is I say, look, like what anybody can say anything. Anybody can say, I will do this for you, I will do that for you. The response should always be, well, if you can do that for me, let's sign something here that says if we hit what you're saying, then yes, you will get this thing, right? And then it's like it's very telling. It's an immediate that's the best way to negotiate a deal, right? Because if they're not willing to do that, they don't have as much faith in themselves as they're saying. So it's the same Tommy will talk about all the time. It's like the best sales guys are the ones that don't want a base. They
Right.
don't want a guaranteed payment, right? They want to get out and they go, I don't want a base, but I want to get a ton of freaking money if I
Right.
close deals, right? That's the guy you're looking for. And so the same thing would apply in a partnership. If you're looking to trade equity, if you're looking to bring on a partner, it should be where are you at? If you're at the beginning, then you just talk about what you guys both bring to the table. But if you're far along, you have a business worth a certain amount of money, and somebody says, I can do this for you, say, cool, I'll pay you when we do that thing. I'll give you that. Let's sign something right now that says if you accomplish this thing, then you get it, right? And so skin in the game to me is everything. It's just like show me you can do. Just show me you can do it. And so I wouldn't say run away from partnerships. I wouldn't say that they're not good, but I would. One of the quotes is the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership. It's very true. Partnerships are they're one-way doors. You go through them, you can't go back. And so you do need to do a lot of really deep homework. You need to make sure this is somebody that I mean, you're getting married. On paper, you're getting married to this person. Do the same thing you would do. Court them, figure it out, and determine. And Tommy made that really easy. If you know Tommy, if anybody has met him, he's one of the guys, and I kind of believe I have that ability as well to sense kind of that BS. He's the most genuine person I've ever met in the trades at that level, especially. And so yeah, my advice would be A, don't be afraid of partnerships. B, treat them like a marriage. Would you marry this person? Obviously not. Not from a sexual point of view, would you spend a lot of time with this person? Would you fight with this person? Would you be able to forgive this person? Would you be able to get down and dirty with everything and then figure out a skin in the game scenario that says, and that was the thing with Tommy is like the skin in the game is he gave me a bunch of money for my
Yeah.
equity,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
value of the company at the time. So
Yeah. To your point, I see this in my own client base. There are so many people that approach my clients and they get excited and we'll have a discussion. And I'm kind of like the Jim Leslie a little bit for my clients, where
Right.
I'm like the crotchety guy ready to
Mhm.
say no. And they'll someone will pitch them, and I'd say 90% of the time they're not bringing money to the table. They've got some great idea, or they got something that's going to change their whole business, and they're going to have such a big impact. But when it comes down to writing a check, they have nothing to give. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
and I always say the same thing. It's like, unless someone's willing to back it up with a few dollars, be really cautious, really
Yeah,
cautious.
100%. Yeah, it's like it's pretty easy. It's like the number one way to know, right? It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
all right, are you willing to put it in? Or show me. Show me you can do it. You're all
Yeah.
talk.
Last topic. We're coming up on the top of the hour. Do you have a few
Sure.
more minutes?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just want to talk about, I've heard you say home services is becoming more commoditized. Can we talk about that a little bit? Like, what do you mean by that? Why is that happening, and maybe how do we prevent that?
I don't think there's any way to prevent commoditization of it, but there's
Okay.
a way to create a moat around your business, especially as, you get, okay, I'll give you an example. You just had the CEO of, can't remember what it was. He's on a podcast, CEO of like some big AI company. And they said, what do you tell your kids? If AI is going to take over the world, what are you going to tell your kids? He says, you tell them to become a plumber. And so we're going to see an onslaught of more and more people. I mean, we're seeing a huge change, right? White
Right.
collar is scared.
Right.
Attorneys are scared. People are scared because AI. And who's not scared? The plumbers. We've got a long time before a robot's going to come into a house and fix your
Right.
plumbing, right? And so we can't avoid the idea that more and more people are going to come after this opportunity. I always go back to the same thing I've learned. I learned this early on. I used to do stand-up comedy. I was doing a show one night with Pauly Shore. If you remember who Pauly Shore is,
Sure.
in the army now. One of my favorite movies. He was there that night, and I was sitting with him, talking with him. I said, "Hey, I'm a new comedian. What advice do you have?" And he said, "The only thing that you have that's different than everybody else is your own personal story. That's it. There's nothing else you have. It's your personal story. Until your audience loves you for who you are, they're not going to care about your jokes. They're not going to laugh at. The joke is the service, right? That's the plumbing. That's the HVAC. That's the whatever, right? That for him, it's a joke, right? That's his service he's offering. Anybody can tell that same joke. The next comedian can say the same thing. The difference is, do I love that person or not? So he said, I can tell a joke about airplane food, like a generic lame airplane food joke. I'll get a laugh. But if you go on stage and tell that same joke, you won't get a laugh because they don't know you, they don't love you. And I've already built up my thing, and said the only way you can build yourself up is by telling your own story. So your jokes should revolve around your story. And that has made all the difference in my entire life of everything. I actually emailed him recently. I'm trying to get a hold of him and be like, hey, dude, I tell this story all the time. But he hasn't responded. But the key for me is, and this is the moat you can build around your business. And you tell a story along the customer journey whenever you can. Videos, you send out videos. You send out a video when somebody books. We call this the owner handshake. Text message goes out with a video. Hey, it's Ryan with such and such HVAC, whatever, right? Just wanted to say thank you so much for giving us a shot. We're going to come out and really take care of you. Wanted to let you know this is my business. This is my family here. I built this from the ground up with my bare hands. Or my dad built it or whatever, and you tell something that makes them go, oh, I like this guy. I'm going to do business with this guy. And now your joke, your HVAC service hits, right? Because they are connected to you as a person. And I think my prediction is that as AI gets more and more prominent in every part of our lives, people will crave actual human connection. And if you can nail that, you create a moat around your business.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Hey, that's an awesome end to this in terms of just getting people to think about creating their own moat. I'm always amazed, just starting with a website, a lot of people's websites, businesses' websites, they lack that
Oh
personalization.
gosh,
Like
yeah.
it just
Yeah.
blows my mind. You think they're owned by private equity because they lack so
Ugh.
much personalization. And I know because sadly, sometimes it's my own clients, they're not owned by private equity. They just
Right.
lack that touch of getting their
Put
story across.
yourself on there waving a hi, let me
Yeah.
come see you, huh? Like, dude, connect with the people. You come on there and it's like cold, sanitary, robotic. Yeah, you're just the same as all the 100 other HVAC guys.
Yeah, yeah, such a good point. Okay, so your website, chirp.com, Chirp has two I's,
Two
chirp.com.
eyes, yep.
I'll include your LinkedIn link in the show notes. Anything else you want to share with anybody if they want to reach out to you?
We do. So, you heard me talk about washing the windshields earlier, right? And I think that's really important. The key to I like to earn my opportunity to pitch my clients, and so I want to wash your windshield for you first. I want to offer you something for free. We do a revenue optimization analysis. This is where we do a quick AI analysis of your business. We find some leaks and how you could improve. We'll hand you that. It's totally free. If you end up using Chirp, cool. If not, great, no problem. It's still of high value and show you where you could improve your conversion rates. And then if you decide you end up working with Chirp, awesome. We'll work together. You'll be a client of mine, be part of the family, and we'll make money together. So if you want to get that, go over to Chirp, sign up for the revenue optimization analysis, and let's rock and roll.
Yeah, and one thing I like too, you'd mentioned, and I think people have to think of it this way. Sometimes we just think of this as software. Oh yeah, we're gonna have a software that sends videos, but it's really that strategy and consultation part too that you guys add that is where the separator in the
Yeah,
software, right?
we have a whole coaching program. So you
Yeah.
come in and you have the software, you have a coach who works with you to increase conversion rates, and we're seeing 10, 20, 40, sometimes 1,000x in some like really outlier cases of return on investment into the process. But even if we're able to help convert 2 or 3 jobs more a month, you're well over your investment into the company. So it's software and it's a team to help you implement that.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Ryan, for being on the show for number 2. Hopefully there's a number 3 in the future. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tyler. Have a great day, man.
Have you there.
We'll see you.
Thank you, brother.
Welcome to Profit and Grit. It's profit and grit, not luck and a wish. From the wrench to the spreadsheet, we're stacking our chips. Slow season hits, man, we tighten the ship. It's the blue collar